I welcome you all for the session 2 of day 1. Now this session, it's all about introduction to financial derivatives in India. Introduction to financial derivative in India. This session going to facilitate by Dr. S. Allimuthu, my colleague. Let me take this opportunity introduce Dr. S. Allimuthu formally to all the participants. Dr. S. Allimuthu has almost 20 years of teaching experience in reputed institutions. He obtained his doctoral degree from Bardiyar University in the year 2015. He is a SLET qualified professional specializing in finance. He has published research articles in reputed, indexed national and international journals. Also, he has presented papers at various forums of conference. He is trained in multiple choice question generation and validation and e-content development by UGC. His area of interest includes financial market, portfolio management, and behavioral finance. On behalf of the participant and the coordinator, I welcome you, sir, for the session introduction to financial derivatives in India. Please, sir, the floor is yours. Please, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the nice introduction. And good afternoon to all the participants. Okay, so this session is titled Introduction to Financial Derivatives in India. Okay, just getting into details about the financial derivatives in India. We'll just we'll start with what is derivatives. I think the previous session, my colleague Saranya have been talking about financial derivatives as such and what are the financial products. Okay, just briefly discussing about that financial derivatives as such. What is derivatives? What are the different types of derivatives? How it is being used and for what it is being used. Then we'll get into the financial derivatives market in India. So when it got started and how it developed and what are the milestones in the Indian financial derivatives market. To start with, before getting into the actual slide content and other things, basically we all know that derivatives is a contract. It's a contract between two parties or two persons. Right? It is a contract between two parties or two persons. So this comes under the purview of the Indian Contract Act, where the Indian contract has given certain features or elements as essential elements of a valid contract. There are certain things that need to be ensured to be a valid contract. A contract to be to be legally enforced. Then there are certain things that we need to go through. There are various factors, features that are mentioned in the Indian Contract Act, right? Like as some of you know about that, right? There should be offer, acceptance, right? There should be also when two parties are involved, there should be offer, acceptance, then lawful object, lawful consideration, legality, capacity of the parties in various aspects. I'm not going in detail, right? So basic thing to understand is derivative is a contract between two parties to buy or sell an underlying asset. To buy or sell an underlying asset. So here the underlying asset can be anything. It can be shares, it can be commodities, it can be no, anything. The underlying asset can be anything. No, any asset can be bought and sold. Okay, what do you call it? So it is a contract to buy or sell an underlying asset over a period in future, right? So where the two parties which are involved in buying and selling of the underlying asset, they'll come to an agreement as to at what rate this asset is going to be bought or sold on a pre-specified future date. Right. So there is a brief note of what is a derivative is. Okay. And so first of all, it comes under the purview of the Indian Contract Act. And the Indian Securities Act gives a different definition. Right. So let me share the screen just to go through those definitions. Yeah. Fine. So what is a derivative is what I have been discussing with you just now. So a derivative is a contract between two or more parties whose value is based on an agreed upon underlying asset. As I mentioned, it can be shares, it can be a currency, it can be any commodity or interest rate or indexes. That is where we come across, right? Different types of when we talk about India, you'll get to know about what is it being called, right?
సదా చూసుకుంటాడు అన్ని.
Yes, please mute your video so that there is participants audio. Participants, please mute your audio.
Sir Allimuthu, sir, I have removed that participant. No issue, sir. You continue, sir. Let him join later.
Right, sir. Thank you. So this is what is the basic definition of derivatives. This is again given under the Securities Contract Regulation Act 1956, right? I think I need not go in detail about that because it is already being discussed by Saranya. Okay, so the underlying asset, it can be any commodity. To give an example to that, you know, I think I know that ITC is involved in contract forming. Means ITC doing through this eChopal and all those programs. You know, ITC like they produce various products. Now they enter into a contract with the with the farmers to buy agricultural commodities like for potato or tomato or even some certain tobacco products and all, right? So they enter into a contract. Normally you might have seen like as a part of ITC's contract farming project, they enter into a contract with the farmer. When the farmer starts the agricultural activities at the time of sowing itself, ITC enters into a contract with the farmer that.
Allimuthu, sir, sorry to disturb, sorry to interfere.
Yeah.
Sir, can you go for a slideshow, sir? Because participants are sending message that not visible.
Slideshow.
Slideshow.
Okay. Is my slide visible, sir, for you?
Slide is visible, sir, but not a slideshow.
Okay.
You can go for F5. Yes.
Okay. So that's why I'm checking the chat box. Fine. So ITC enters into contract with the farmer to buy the farmer produce during the harvest, maybe 3 months after or 4 months after time.
Sir, still it is not, sir. Sir, still it is not presentation mode, sir.
Yeah.
Now it's okay, sir.
Okay. Right. Yes. So, as far as to give an example with regard to this commodities contract, ITC enters into a contract with the farmers to buy their produce after some point of time, maybe 3 months or 4 months. Now they enter into an agreement where they negotiate the price and they enter into an agreement. So that is a pure example of a commodity contract, right? This is one-to-one contract, right? So where they negotiate and agree upon. So, but when it comes to futures contract in the stock market, it is the contract, the terms of contract, everything is taken care of by the exchange. So, what is being traded in NSE or BSE, it is a futures contract. The terms of contract, everything is standardized. Now, when we discuss futures and forwards, you will understand, right? So let me discuss about that later on. So these are the underlying asset. It can be any commodity. It can be agricultural products or other commodities like gold or silver, things like that, right? That's what some of them mentioned, right? These are asset. It can be foreign currencies, even foreign exchange market. It is being used, or any types of financial instruments. Yeah. So, what is the need for derivatives? Is there are two main purposes of having derivatives. One is to reduce risk. For example, if you are an exporter, somebody who's involved in like making and exporting certain goods, like the exchange rate changes over a period. Like for example, so today you are negotiating the price and you are fixing the export, like some commodities, even if there are garments that are being manufactured in some parts of Coimbatore, Tirupur. Like say if today somebody entering into a contract, they negotiate with the buyer, and they fix a price based on the cost of manufacturing, considering the exchange rate and all that, right? But the goods will be delivered maybe after 2 months or 3 months. So still there is some audio disturbance.
See, participants kindly cooperate during the session. When the resource person presenting, kindly mute your mic.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, so when contract is entered to export some commodities, we like the price is negotiated based on the cost of production today, then the exchange rate fluctuations. But it will take some time, say 1 month or 2 months time to produce the product and to send it. So during that time, there is chance that the exchange rate may increase or decrease, right? So when exporter delivers the product after 3 months and gets payment after that, the exchange rate fluctuations is a risk factor. So to manage that, the exporter can enter into a contract selling foreign currency, whether it is US dollar or pound sterling or anything. So the exporter can enter into a contract today stating that he will deliver some quantity of currency after 3 months and fixing the exchange rate and all those, right? So this helps in minimizing the risk for the exporter. Because anyhow, if US dollar is going to, like, if Indian rupee is going to depreciate, exporter is going to get benefited. If Indian, say take case like if Indian rupee is appreciating, then the exporter has to lose, sometimes incur loss. So to manage this risk, he can enter into a contract, right? What do you call it as a futures contract with the banks, or he can go for a trading in exchanges. Things like that can be done, right? So the main purpose of derivatives is to hedge risk or to reduce risk over a period of time. Same way to a farmer. Normally you might have seen like during harvesting, if there is going to be a bumper harvest, right? The agricultural products, the price of agricultural products during harvesting normally decreases, right? So when the price decreases during harvest, right? So to avoid that scenario, the farmer can enter into a contract at the time of even starting the crop, so that he gets benefited. That's what ITC is doing it with the farmers, right? So the main purpose is to reduce risk over a period of time, right? And this can be done by anyone, right? It can be done by a farmer or an individual or an exporter. And now sometimes if you see in derivatives market, people get involved and they buy options, futures over a period to make profit as well, right? This can be done by an airlines company, or this can be done by a exporter over a period. So there are three participants in the derivatives market. One is hedgers, speculators, and the third one is the arbitrators. So these hedgers use derivatives market to reduce or eliminate the risk associated with the price of an asset, right? So they buy and sell different securities or assets in different markets. They use derivatives market to reduce or eliminate risk over a period of time. Okay, then if you say like a majority of the participants in the derivatives market belong to this category. Mainly they do for hedging. Speculators, they also involved in the market over a period. So over a period, they transact like the case of stock markets, the secondary stock market where the shares are bought and sold. Same way, they are also involved in, I think you might have come across like stock derivatives, stock options, stock futures, right? There, these investors, like the speculators, they involved in the market to make money over a period of time, right? You know about the even NSE, BSE platform. You have this futures and options contract that are being sold, bought and sold, right? And as a part of this FDP, we have special sessions on that, where people, some of them from multi commodities exchange, some of them from NSE, they'll be now discussing with you or presenting to you in detail as to how it is being done and how people make money and what are the strategies to be followed and things like that, right? So speculators play an active role in the derivatives market, like stock market also. Majority, if you see, they are speculators. Same thing happens in stock market as well. Then arbitrators, they use this derivatives market to get benefited, right? There will be price difference between one market and another, right? Between the regular market and the another, right? Between, say, about the spot market and futures market, there will be some price difference they use that an option to make money, right? There will be some price difference in whether it is with respect to shares or commodities or currencies. Now they used to benefit from the price differences. So these are all the three participants in the derivatives market. And moving on to the next topic, it is about the application of financial derivatives. As we already discussed, financial derivatives, simply derivatives is mainly used to manage the risk. Manage the risk, that is to reduce the risk. We all know about the risk-return relationship and the risk factor that mainly plays an important role in the stock market and financial markets, foreign exchange market, everywhere, right? So derivatives is a tool that can be used to manage risk over a period. Then efficiency in trading, because derivatives market, the movement of derivatives market over a period impacts spot market. There is some kind of relationship between these two, right? Spot market and futures market. So there is relationship, and this helps in building an efficient market over a period in long run. Then speculation, as we discussed, speculators also play an important role where they do make money over a period. Then this derivatives market also helps in price discovery and price stabilization over a period, because like if you say based on a future contract, how the future market moves, right? So in NSE and BSE, you have a separate platform for futures market. So based on how the value of a future contract moves, the spot market also moves. Now sometimes based on spot market, okay, there is both the way it happens, right? So over a period, this helps in price discovery, price stabilization in both these markets, both spot market and futures market. Okay, so these are the three types of derivatives. As I have mentioned, it is futures, forwards, options, and swaps. I think Saranya have been also discussing about that. So swaps is what is being rarely used, but mostly if you see, futures and options are being mainly used, right? So these futures and options contract are those being traded in exchanges, NSE and BSE, right? Like options, you have two types, even call and put option, right? We already know about. So all form part of derivatives market, right? And these forwards are standardized, forwards are one-to-one contracts which cannot be traded in exchanges. There is a difference which we will be discussing in the next slide. So these are all the four types of derivatives. One is futures, forwards, options, and swaps, right? So these are all the two difference between futures and forwards. So to be brief about this, futures are standardized contract, as I told you before, right? The exchanges, they have standardized contract, right? So like when you open an account with the broker to buy and sell shares and securities, and you are exposed to that market, you can also buy and sell futures contract. If you see, it is a standardized contract, and as a market participant, when you buy and sell futures contract, you will not know who's selling to you, right? Because exchanges, like in the share market also, spot market, when you buy and sell like shares, like we may not know from whom we buy or to whom we sell. Same thing happens in futures market, right? So where exchanges facilitate, it is also through an online platform, right? So these are all standardized contract. Buying and selling of these instruments happens, and the contract details, right? So when the contract matures, what is the specific price, and all those are specified by the exchange over a period, right? Whereas forwards is a one-to-one contract, right? Now this is not traded in exchanges. So it has counterparty risk. So on the date of maturity, right, whether it is, as it is mentioned, main difference is futures is standardized and forward is customized. Okay, so counterparty risk here means exchange will take care of the execution of futures contract, right? Or sometimes a setup happens, right? Whereas in case of forward contract, now you are in, like you are entering into a contract. So for example, ITC entering into a contract with the farmer. Say if farmer now fails to execute the contract on maturity after 3 months, the farmer fails to come forward. He says like, I don't have the product. Then there is a risk. ITC can go to court and it claims for compensation and all those are there, but they may not get the products, they may not get the contract executed, right? So that is what is counterparty risk. You will not have any third party to ensure that the contract is executed. So that's where it is high risk. It is one-to-one contract. If one fails and the contract cannot be fulfilled, then you have to go for legal measures, right? So all those other things I have told you, like in case of futures, the contract size is fixed, it is standardized. But in case of forwards, it is not the case, right? The contract size, like the value of the asset and things like that, is decided on during the agreement, right? Regulation. Now, futures is regulated by stock market, whereas forwards are self-regulated. Okay, the other things. So settlement happens on a daily basis, whereas in case of forwards, it happens only on maturity after 3 months. Okay, since because it is all being discussed, I am not going in detail about the options and swaps, and you have sessions to discuss about that over a period, right, later on. Getting into this topic, what is being I'm supposed to discuss, the origin of derivatives market in India. Actually, it happened long back, as the other those persons were mentioning, or they may be telling you even in the forthcoming sessions. The derivatives market in India has a long history. It all started the end of 18th century, right? That's in 1875. So you know, like Bombay is famous for cotton trading, and even you know the Manchester of India, right? And Coimbatore is said to be the Manchester of South India. So Bombay is very actively involved in textile business. So the end of this Bombay Cotton Trading Association, okay, they were facilitating, and even the beginning of 19th century, they have the concept of the derivatives market dealing with. So as I mentioned, even during this the beginning of 19th century, they have the concept of entering into a contract to buy cotton at a pre-specified price, and all those. There is a kind of contract that existed. Okay, now that forms the base. By the way, if you see, it all started now the derivatives market as such. It got started in the beginning of 19th century, with mainly associated with the finance capital of India, Bombay, right? And history suggests that India has become one of the world's largest futures trading industry during the beginning of the 19th century, right? Whereas in 1952, the government of India banned cash settlement and options trading, right? That is immediately after independence, the government of India banned all those activities. Right? Then derivatives trading shifted to informal, that is then this forward contracts, forward market came very active during that time, right? This all happened during 1952, like government banning all this type of contracts and option trading and all that. In this informal way of doing happened, right? It's what you call as forward markets. Then later on, derivatives trading commenced in India in June 2000 after SEBI finally approved based on the recommendations of committee that is being constituted, right? L.C. Gupta committee that was constituted in 1998. So based on the recommendations of L.C. Gupta committee, SEBI granted approval to start the derivatives trading in India, and it is also facilitated by the creation of the National Electronics Commodities Exchange. So later on, after 2001, this National Electronic Commodities Exchange was created, which facilitated trading of derivatives using online platforms. Okay, these are the timelines over which it has happened, right? Sorry. So again, after 2001, currently, NSE and BSE are the exchanges that facilitate trading in derivatives, and you have this MCX as well, right? Multi Commodities Exchange, which facilitates futures, options trading in commodities, right? So the trading in BSE Sensex options commenced on June 4th, 2001, and trading in options on individual securities commenced in July 2001. So it all started, right? Derivatives market as such, it all started only in 2000, 2001. So before that, this market was inactive, and only the forward markets are existing, right? Only after 2001, it all became active. Then the futures contracts on individual stocks were launched in November 2001. Then index futures trading in NSE commenced on 12th June 2000. Then likewise, we have different timelines over which the derivatives market in India got coming up. Then you can see, like, the trading in index options commenced on June 4, 2001, and trading in options on individual securities commenced on July 2, 2001. In various markets, it has been, like if you say like derivatives, like, stock, derivatives, and based on underlying assets, you can see different types of derivatives. One is stock futures and stock options, where shares are underlying assets, right? You have commodity futures and commodity options, where commodities like gold, silver, cotton, iron and steel, and copper, different commodities are underlying assets. Then you have interest rate futures and options, where interest rate is the underlying asset, right? So stock options, then finally you have this index futures options, where the index is the movement of index, right? You have different index, right? BSE, NSE, you have a lot of other index, BankX and other indexes. So the movement of index in itself is stated as an underlying asset, and you have index futures and options, and that are all being traded in the market, right? So all those gained momentum over a period of time, and the exchanges and SEBI has been playing an active role in all that. Okay, so these are all different timelines different timelines and the progress that has been made over a period of time, right? So that is in 1995, December 14, NSE asked SEBI for permission to trade index futures. Then based on that, in 1996, SEBI set up this NC Gupta committee, not just to look into the issue and now come out with policy framework to facilitate derivatives trading in India. And this committee submitted report on 11th May 1998, right? Then RBI later on gave permission for forward rate agreement, right? Things like that in 1999. And in the year 2000, 25th May 2000, SEBI gave permission to NSE and BSE to do index futures trading, right? So the various chronology of events, you can find it here, and how it has been progressing over a period, all these contents, and I don't want to get in much detail about that, right? It will be boring. And these are all the timelines and how it happened in BSE, and what are the things got introduced over a period, as I mentioned, right? Stock options, stock futures, when they are all got introduced and things like that. And here you can see how it has been happening in NSE over a period, right? These are different timelines through which these markets have been introduced. So this market and how it got developed over a period. Okay, anyhow, these PPTs will be shared over a period with you so that you can use it as a reference. And like in terms of volume and how what are the strategies to be followed, I think you have a lot of experts, as it was mentioned, both persons from academics and industry, right? There is somebody from BSc, NSC, MCX, someone from bank, and all those. They will be discussing about in detail about each and every commodities. So here the first few sessions are with regard to give an introduction to what is derivatives, what are the different derivatives products, and the market that exists and how it gets get developed over a period of time. Okay, so with that, over a period, different experts will give you in detail, the strategies and products and the strategies that are to be followed. You'll get to know about later on. So based on the topics that I have discussed, if there is any questions, so we have another 15-20 minutes to clarify on that.
So good afternoon. My name is